anybody's interested, please don't hesitate to contact.
Absolutely. We'd love to have anyone and everyone here on board with us. But let's go ahead and introduce our guest. This man runs a very, very good sports blog called Herringbone Sports. He talks Notre Dame, but he also has a little humor on the side. If you're a fan of Saturday Night Live, this is the guy you want to talk to. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm very happy to welcome Mr. Steve Herring to the show. Steve, welcome to the new ND Nation Radio.
Thank you very much for having me on, guys.
It's good to have you. How was your Christmas?
Oh, it was great. I'm out in Idaho, not too much white this time of year, but or just for this year, but I'm having a good time. And like a lot of Notre Dame fans, I'm out here. I'm ready to see the Irish take on the Noles today.
Yeah, I know. It's going to be a great time. It's a great atmosphere for Notre Dame. So let's go ahead and tell everybody about your blog. You know, like I said, you do a lot of Notre Dame sports, but you talk a lot of SNL. I love your insights on the show. The Jason Segel episode was one of my favorites this season. And it seems like, you know, you really just like the network of NBC, don't you?
You know, I felt when I first started it that I was kind of, you know, like a little branch for them. I'm out here promoting some of their highest-rated shows, but, you know, it just so happens I'm a big fan of sketch comedy, and when I wanted to start a blog, I kind of wanted to go a little bit Bill Simmons-y and do some entertainment with the sports, and Saturday Night Live was just an easy avenue. It's something I love to talk about, and I really wish they did more Notre Dame stuff. It would help them out, the NBC brand across the board, but, you know, it's my favorite show. I love talking about it.
So what are your thoughts on Jimmy Fallon's Regis Philbin impression to go Notre Dame related here?
You know, you can't go wrong with me. I'm running a Notre Dame and a Saturday Night Live blog, and they do a sketch where they bring out Regis. They talk about Notre Dame, talk about him bringing his house on balloons at the 50-yard line, best seats in the house. And, you know, I think he does a great impression. I think Jimmy Fallon is extremely talented, and it was just great to have him back. And, you know, a lot of times when he was a cast member, you felt like there was times where he got a little underutilized, and it was great to have him on and just see him just go everywhere and do these impersonations. And it was a great show, great Regis. It was a lot of fun for me.
Steve, you and I have a pretty similar background as far as, you know, we both started as bloggers. I started with the blog Irish Unmatched. Got the break to go on Bleacher Report for a little while, but then turned my focus back to doing what was my first love here at radio. But, you know, not only that, your father is a UK, University of Kentucky alum, so you have a lot of the same love I do, where half your heart's blue and half your heart's green. So, you know, what are your thoughts so far on, you know, both schools? We had the basketball game this past weekend, Notre Dame women versus Kentucky women. Did you catch the game at all?
You know what? I did not catch that game. I've had a lot of family stuff. My girlfriend, she has a billion family. I've been very busy lately, so I did miss that game. I apologize.
Yeah, it was very good. I mean, very competitive game. You know, Kentucky's women kind of shot himself in the foot, but it's great to see, you know, both schools really thriving and doing what's best. I've quite a few times compared the ability of John Calipari to get under his players' skins to Brian Kelly's, and I think that, you know, their teachings are very similar, and a lot of people don't really recognize it.
Yeah, no, I understand what you're saying, and they both have had their controversial moments. You know, Calipari, he definitely had a few more at his previous stops in Memphis and at UMass, but Brian Kelly definitely came out firing this year in that first game and caught a lot of flack, but, I mean, that's part of sports. That's part of competition, is being excited and getting your players excited and, you know, wanting to win. And that's what, as a fan, you want to see that in your coaches. You want to see it in your players. So, for me, I've never had a problem with coaches that, you know, they get out there, they get in the faces, and they want to light that fire under their players. And I appreciate that out of Calipari and out of Brian Kelly.
Yeah, I agree. I'm the same way there. So let's go ahead and bring Jason in. We'll make this a little three-way roundtable. Let's talk about Notre Dame, Florida State. This is a huge game. We've talked about it over and over again for the past month. So many different angles to talk about the game. What are your thoughts overall on the matchup?
You know, I wrote down when I started reviewing this, I felt a lot about the same things that I felt about going into the Miami Bowl game last year. Had some of the same concerns, some of their athletes being able to get open in space and getting deeper on the defense. I was, you know, concerned about the offensive line matching up with some, you know, very, very good athletes up front on Florida State. And, you know, big part of me, you want to see a replay of last year. You want to see a team come out like Notre Dame did in the Sun Bowl, you know, prepared, you know, totally focused and come out and, you know, throw the first few punches and get up early. And I would like to see that happen. But with the way the defense of the Noles have been playing, the last couple, I think they've won 6 out of the last 7. They've been playing really well, haven't given up over 20 points since early October, and it's going to be a really tough matchup. But I also think with some of the things going on with Florida State and possibility of 4 freshman offensive line, that matches up in our favor, and I really think it could be a low-scoring game, and I think the Irish might have what it takes to pull it out.
Yeah, it's a tough game. I mean, there's no doubt about that. I think we've stretched that to the point where, it's loud and clear. This is, a great matchup. This is 2 teams where they are on the cusp of achieving the success that both teams want. Both teams are really used to, with their history. One thing that everyone's talked about, what are your thoughts on Andrew Hendricks? How much do we see of him today? What is this one package? Do you see him come in for a couple drives by himself? How do you think they use Hendricks? Do you think they use him more as a matchup against Manuel to do whatever he does he can do better, or is it, we want to get this guy rolling just to see if he has what it takes to be possibly the starting quarterback for the 2012 season?
I mean, the big question is how much do we want to see him and how much are we actually going to see him? My big thing is I've really wanted them to stretch the field more against quality defenses, especially USC and Stanford. I wish they had been able to stretch the field more with Michael Floyd, who can go and jump ball and really beat almost any defender in America any given time. So that's a big bonus for having Hendricks in there. And I would love to see him back there in the shotgun and throw some big-time passes down towards number 3 and try and get him, in matchups that favor us. And then that, kind of compounds the fact, and you get, bigger passing lanes and bigger rushing lanes. And what do I think we're going to see? I think we're going to see exactly what Brian Kelly said, which was if Hendricks is going out there and the offense is clicking and they're moving the football, he's going to get every chance to keep playing through for as long as that's going on.
Yeah, that's what I felt about too. I think that, this is really his time to prove who he is. We all know he is a great athlete. He's a dual-threat quarterback. He has a lot of different abilities. He brings stuff to the table that Tommy Rees doesn't and vice versa. And, the lights are on now. This isn't I'm coming in Palo Alto, we're down 21 points. This is my chance to show that I can be a great player here at Notre Dame.
Yeah, no, I'm totally on board with that because obviously in the spring ball, the red shirt's going to come off of the other number 5 on Notre Dame, and this is a big opportunity for Hendricks. And, I don't think that anyone in Notre Dame Nation is rooting against Tommy Rees. He's done a lot of great things for us, and we would love to see him go out there and throw for 300 yards and a 21-point win. But the big question is Hendricks. Is he going to be able to get in there and do things against a super athletic front 7 and a defense of Florida State that maybe Tommy Rees won't be able to?
Yeah, I think one of the things you have to think about with Hendricks is his ability to run, which Tommy obviously he's not gonna get out of the pocket and go anywhere. And, Florida State, I mean, they're number 2 in rush defense, I think. It's somewhere in top 5 definitely. And I think you have to establish a run game, and I think having Hendricks out there gives you that opportunity to at least make him understand that we can run the ball on you, and then obviously that opens up passing lanes too. So I think that's going to play into it a lot. I think you're probably going to see Tommy start the game, but I think if they can't get anything going pretty quick, they're going to have to go to Hendricks and get the ball in his hands and go downfield and then take off and try to break some big plays with his feet too.
Yeah, no, I think that's totally a possibility. And, a big question mark is with some of the off-season stuff with Florida State, with the arrests and stuff, if this team's super focused, and that's when it kind of leans over to Tommy Rees and his ability to read defenses and his ability to check into the right play. If Florida State defenders aren't totally focused and he is getting the start, what are the options? What are the chances he's getting out there, making great reads, making the quick passes that turn into big plays against an unfocused team? So I totally am in agreement that a straight-up matchup standpoint, it typically is going to show as Andrew Hendricks gives us a better chance to score more points, but there's some intangibles there that you just don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, Tommy does bring a lot to the table, and obviously I'm not knocking the guy at all. He's done some great things for us. I think the one thing we really have to be careful of is turnovers in this game, because if Florida State can score, and if we hand them the ball, they're gonna make us pay for it, I think. And I think we need to control our turnovers, but our defense needs to try to create some turnovers too. I think that's a big key in this game is to get them back on their heels a little bit and get the take the ball away from them and then obviously capitalize on that, which we've had a hard time doing. When we do create turnovers, we oftentimes don't produce any points in that situation, and that's obviously not good for us either.
I mean, yeah, I couldn't agree with you more on that.
One thing people don't really take in here is, sorry I didn't mean to interrupt, but Florida State really has quite a bit of a comfort level playing in the Citrus Bowl. They've, I think they've won eight of 10 games, but the other 2 are ties or something for that matter in their whole history. Is that something Notre Dame needs to be, looking out for? Take them out of their comfort level here and pretty close to their backyard of Florida?
I mean, that kind of thing is always got to come into play, I would think. With the bowl game, though Notre Dame sold out their tickets, and then, through, I guess they said through some of the other media stuff, they were still giving out more tickets. And, you got to take it into effect. Is there going to be a louder crowd for Florida State? Probably, but, I mean, I don't think we're going to compare it to what might be going on at a game in Tallahassee against Florida. This is going to be a little bit more of an even-keeled atmosphere, but, like you said, with turnovers and whoever jumps out to an early lead, that really, it always gives a chance to shift that right back into neutral or even in the supposed road team like Notre Dame's favor.
Now, we kind of talked about being at the show. What are your thoughts? Is this, I just, boldly asked the question, is this Tyler Eifert's last game at Notre Dame? Everyone's got thoughts. I know he did reach out to get a NFL scout evaluation. Do you see Tyler Eifert being back at Notre Dame next year?
I mean, to be totally honest, and if I was betting money, I would say that I would expect him to go, and I'm not saying that I think it's the best choice for him. One of the things that you kind of see with guys that are coming back is they announce it before the bowl game, and I mean that's just kind of fair. Teo did it, and some of the other players have done that before, and get the fan base excited about the upcoming bowl game as well as the next season. And I don't have any inside information, but I would imagine that when you see that he hasn't declared yet, and it's the bowl game today, you think that he's still leaning towards possibly going. As far as his stature goes, I think he's such a fantastic receiving tight end, but I think he could definitely work on the interior line blocking and some other things, and I think he could bulk up because he's still a little bit light in comparison to a lot of the prototypical NFL tight ends of these days where he's got the height, he just doesn't have some of the width and the weight that some of these other guys out there do at the next level.
Yeah, I think that, I hope he stays. I think you're right. There's some stuff that he could still work on at this level and increase his stock for next year's draft. But I think at the same time we're also very fortunate to have Koyak as a tight end as well. Notre Dame has a history of producing some very, very good tight ends. So and Koyak is no exception to that rule either. So. It's going to be good to have him back there just as a stopgap in case something does happen and Tyler takes off.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with Notre Dame, and you were missing Alex Welch as well, so you got 2 guys on the roster who were in the top 5 tight ends in their recruiting class that played significant minutes this year as well. So I don't think it's a big concern that we're going to see a major drop-off in 2012, but it would definitely be great to have a tight end like Eifert come back and maybe win the Mackey and move himself into a surefire first-round NFL draft pick.
I'm glad you brought up. Wow, no, I'm sorry. Jason, you want to go ahead? I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, kind of getting used to this whole 3-man rotation here still, part of live radio. But I'm glad you brought up Alex Welch because I watched Alex Welch play at Elder. And, he backed up Kyle Rudolph there. He comes here, it's under Kyle Rudolph's swing again. And, the guy's really athletic, and the guy doesn't get a lot of credit just because he is kind of a little lower on the depth chart. But, he really could be a dark horse, and you kind of saw a lot of glimpses of that in the spring game last year.
Yeah, you're right. We're picking up the live radio at Triple Thing. This is my first time on the show. But, I totally agree. I think that Alex Welch is going to get a fair opportunity, whether Eifert comes back or not, to get significant minutes next year.
talking about, next year, and this is a little bit off the subject of what we're talking about right now, but, something that's frustrated me and I'm sure a lot of other people is the complete lack of any type of punt return game. What do you attribute that to? What do you think is what needs to happen there to finally get somebody back there that's going to return a punt now and again?
I mean, that's one of those questions that dogged the whole beginning of the year, and then we kind of got to the middle and just, as a fan base, almost accepted it. Like, this is what it is. We're going to fair catch 95 out of 100 punts, and it was just so odd. It was just odd. I'd never seen anything like it. And what do we need to do? I mean, we've got young guys on the roster who, we got Jared Atkinson III, we've got Bennett Jackson, we've got more athletes coming on board. I mean, we have to find somebody that we can put out there and we know he's going to catch the ball. Is number one. You got to catch the ball, and it just wasn't happening at the beginning of the year. And what do I think the reason was? I think Brian Kelly just went, it's not worth it to risk the turnovers at this point. Let's just get the ball in our hands and get our offense on the field. What do we need to do? We need to put somebody back there that we're comfortable with, and we need to set up blocking, because we weren't really doing that either towards the middle to the end of the year. They were making fair catches, and there were guys right in their faces, so it wouldn't have mattered if you tried to take off with it.
Yeah, it seemed to me, I agree. It seemed that, midway through, it was almost like they finally just said, okay, put Goodman back there because he's going to catch the ball, and we'll put our offense on the field, and we'll go down and, take care of business there. But, some of the field position's so horrible that it's not, it's not a good situation. And then again, there's absolutely no blocking to even give anybody a chance to return. Goodman can catch the ball if he gets some blocks. He can get 10, 15, maybe 20 yards, or break something off, sometime. But yeah, that's something that I think is definitely a major area of concern going into the spring practices.
Yeah, I mean, I'm on board with. I don't know if it's as much finding the guy to return the punts as it is, developing a proper scheme, because it was totally counterbalanced by the fact that I can't remember the game right now. It's not coming to me. But there was a game early in the year we got a roughing the kicker call when we tried to block a punt, and we never seemed to try and block a punt again. So we weren't pressuring the punter or blocking or returning, and it was a big mess. I mean, there's no other way to describe it.
Yeah, exactly.
And we started the show. I know you were in our chat room, which we greatly appreciate. We talked about Kivari Russell coming to Notre Dame. He's got a lot of tangibles that people don't really look for in a Division I running back. I listed his height, his weight, his stats, his speed. He's not really a ESPN 150 recruit, but he is, in my opinion, a really underrated recruit. What are your thoughts on Russell coming in, and what do you think about the running back depth? Not just Sierra Wood, but, the Cam McDaniels, the George Atkinsons, having William Mahone coming in, and, one more year of Sierra Wood even.
Well, I appreciate when they're bringing in, we needed to bring in two and maybe even another back in this class, because the depth this year definitely got kind of scary, and we're heading to a bowl game where a guy that's played wide receiver for 2 full seasons is going to be supposedly taking anywhere from 10 to 25% of the snaps at halfback, which is not an ideal situation. So I'm excited about Kyrie. I'm going to mispronounce his name, Kyrie Russell. I've seen a little bit of his tape, and he looks very athletic, and he's the type of guy that we hope can come in and fill the role. Another name that I'm really excited about seeing back in spring ball was Cam Robertson, who was injured and missed this entire season after being the offensive scout player of the year for the team last year. And that's the guy who if I was going to put my money on somebody, it would be him coming in and possibly throwing in that Jonas Gray, maybe power back role. And everything I've ever heard and seen about him, he looks really good, and it's a big question mark when you're coming off of a major knee injury. But I think that's the guy that definitely should be keep your eye on in spring ball, and when we work into him coming off a full year of injury next summer.
Well, Steve, one last question I have to ask you. It is not Notre Dame related, but I have to thank your Anaheim Angels for taking Albert Pujols out of the National League Central for me, and Jason even. I know Jason's a Cubs fan. I'm a Reds fan. So how excited are you for your Angels this season?
Yeah, I am ecstatic. I couldn't believe when it happened. I couldn't believe the reports when it was possibly going to happen, and I didn't believe it had happened until they were at the press conference and he was holding up the jersey. You know, a lot of people get caught up in the monetary aspect of it, which, I mean, I just don't worry about it. And a little under the radar is the same day he was introduced, the Angels signed a $3 billion TV deal, and his contract is paid for. So I'm ecstatic that he changes the whole lineup, and we brought in C.J. Wilson. And in my opinion, I think we have the best 1 through 5 in baseball. And I may be a little biased, but they're going to make some noise. I mean, I'm not going to guarantee we're going to beat the Rangers in the West, but we're going to make some noise, and we're going to be more fun to watch play baseball.
Yeah, and like I said, on behalf of the Cincinnati Reds and Chicago Cub Nations here on the New England Nation Radio, we do have to thank your Los Angeles Angels Anaheim with their world's longest baseball name for getting that player out of our way.
We were glad to do it, I promise.
Yeah. Well, Steve, before we let you go, man, just give a shout-out to your blog and how anyone can contact you, your Facebook, your Twitter, any way possible.
All right, thank you so much for having me, guys. I really appreciated it. This is Steve Herring. You can catch me on Twitter at HB_sports, which stands for my website and blog, which is herringbonesports.com, covering Notre Dame football, Angels baseball, Saturday Night Live, and other stuff that I enjoy, especially college football. But I thank you very much for having me on the show. It was a lot of fun.
Anytime. Thanks for joining us, Steve. We'll have you on again.
All right, appreciate it. Good luck, guys.
Thanks, man. All right, that was Steve Herring from Herringbone Sports. A very good interview. A lot to talk about. Gave a lot of good insight on this game and the future of Notre Dame sports. What were your thoughts overall on the interview? I know the three-man rotation is kind of something to get used to for a two-man show for a while. But what were your thoughts overall on everything?
Oh, I think it went quite well. And obviously, you know, like we always say, it's always nice to have that, you know, that other the other opinion, you know, out there, and it gives us something more to go on. So I think it went very well, and we'll definitely have to do that again.
Absolutely. Well, we do have about 50 minutes till kickoff now for between this Chance Sports Bowl, Notre Dame, Florida State, and we are doing our best to keep you up to kickoff here today. We will have open phone lines, so if anyone wants to call in and give their insights, our phone number is 1-347-843-4242. I repeat, that's 1-347-843-4242.